everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So today's video is my turn to talk to you about the challenge hosted by the lovely Lisa from One Lisa's Show, which is Finish That Whip 2024. So this is a challenge running throughout the month of October where Lisa encourages you to pull out those works in progress that you might have languishing in the dark depths of your sewing spaces and get them done. So it doesn't have to just be a sewing project that you might not have finished or even started. It could actually be any crafty project at all. And throughout the month there is a vlogger tour happening, so every day there is another vlogger that's chatting to you about their whips and what they plan to work through to get them finished. Yesterday you had the lovely Susan from Seaside Stitches, today's me, and then tomorrow you've got Chris from Sew Notes. So I'm going to get straight into it and talk to you about my whips. Now, I'm actually quite surprised because I don't have that many, and I thought I had a lot more than what I've managed to discover. But I think this comes from the fact that over the years I have changed in how I approach my sewing. Knitting is a different ball game altogether. I have probably at least 10 to 15 projects on the go in knitting, and I think that's because I approach knitting as a craft in a very different way to sewing. Knitting is obviously much slower, or it is for me anyway, a much slower process than sewing. And I tend to get a little bit, not bored, but once I've been working on a project for some time, I tend to want to put it to one side and do something else. So I interchange my knitting and sewing regularly anyway, and I tend not to knit throughout the spring and summer months and come back to knitting this time of year. But consequently, because knitting a garment takes ages, or it does for me, I can only do a little bit at a time and then I put it to one side, and then I get started on a new project and I've got loads of whips in knitting. So I'm not going to talk about those today, but what I am going to talk about are my sewing whips. Now, I went through a phase, I would say a few years ago, where I thought it would be more productive of me if I cut everything out at once and then went through each project in order and sewed them all up. And then what tended to happen was that some of those projects that were cut out would just be left languishing in a pile somewhere and forgotten about. So I don't tend to do that anymore. I tend to cut out a project that I want to work on at that moment in time and work on it and get it done to its completion and then move on to the next thing. So I'm not a batch cutter-outer anymore, if there is such a thing. I tend to be one project at a time, but there are still a few whips languishing in my sewing room, and I've got them all out for you today, and there are actually only 5. I know, I can't believe it. So they're all in these project bags, and I thought we could have a look and see what there is, because to be honest, I haven't even opened these bags yet, so I don't know what's in them or where I'm at with each project and why it got tossed to one side, forgotten about for ages. So we'll start with this one. So this is the Spring Dress by Nina Lee, and I don't think you can actually buy this from her website. This came as a particular exclusive pattern that she did for one of the magazines, and that's where I got it from. And I think I remember buying this after seeing Andrea at the Beyond the Pink Door. She made a version of this in a gorgeous Lady McElroy fabric a few years ago, and it was stunning. And that's when I hunted the pattern down. I managed to get it off eBay and promptly traced off what looks like the pattern and cut it all out. Now, I don't think, looking at this, that I've actually started sewing it. I think it is just cut out, and the reason why it looks like I've not started sewing it, here's the instructions, is because I've cut out a size 10. So yeah, at least I have written the size on this. When I trace patterns, when I used to trace patterns, I would never put any adjustments or sizing details on the traced off pattern pieces that I did. And then that's a bit of a pain because when you come back to it another time, you can't tell what size it is. So I did do the right thing here, and I actually did write on what size I'd cut out. So I've ended up tracing off the size 10, and I think shortly after I'd cut out this pattern, I started gaining weight again because my weight fluctuates. I think I'm always going to be that way, and it just got left because I thought, what's the point in sewing this up now, because it is not going to fit me. So I've cut it out in this gorgeous viscose. It's really pretty. I don't know where this is from actually, I can't remember, but yeah, it's all just cut out, and I clearly have not even attempted to start sewing it. So the good thing is, I think I will probably fit in this now because my shape has changed a lot over this last year, and I'm just going to have a quick look at the finished garment measurements and see what they are, and I'll be able to tell you if this is going to fit me. So the finished bust measurement is 37 inches, the waist is 33, and the hips, it says, are 38. But I don't understand how the hips can be 38 because this is a gathered tiered skirt, and yeah, I don't really understand how that can be. But anyway, I think it will probably fit me. Yeah, I don't understand that, because it's even saying that the size 22, which has a 50-inch bust, has a 39.5-inch finished hip. That makes no sense whatsoever. So I think the sizing on this is not quite right. The body measurements for the size 10 are a 38-inch bust. No, sorry, 36-inch bust. So you've got an inch of ease. A 28-inch waist. So that is 5 inches of ease, which makes sense looking at the imagery on the front of the pattern envelope. And then the hips 37.5, and the finished hip is 38. So you've got half an inch of ease apparently on the hips there, guys. I don't think that's correct at all. So I don't know what's going on there, but you know what? I think generally this will probably fit me. So I am going to get this sewn up because we're in autumn now, and the colour of this fabric, the sort of base colour with it being black, I think I could wear this with tights and boots throughout winter, and it's just going to be just fine. So I think this has been on the back of my mind for some time because I knew that I'd got it as a whip somewhere, but I couldn't remember where it was. And I think now I've found it, I'm going to get that sewn up and worn. So that's whip number 1. Whip number 2 is in this project bag here, and this is, again, I think this is a pattern that isn't actually, I haven't actually started sewing it yet, but this is the Bloomfield pattern by the Petite Dressmaker. So this is the pattern here. And you've got lots of options with this pattern, whether you want to make a top or a knee length skirt or a longer length skirt. And it's got this cute little back detail, so you can have like a little cutout at the back or a tie at the back as well. Now, I bought this pattern after seeing Jen from Jen Leg. She's made this, and look, it looks stunning on her. So as soon as I'd seen her version, I had to buy it. And I bought the pattern. I have printed it out at home, and I have actually cut it out. So, but again, that's as far as I've got. I've done nothing else. So the fabric that I chose is this beauty, which is a Lady McElroy viscose. It's gorgeous actually, and I'm just looking again as to what size I cut out with this. I suspect this was cut out when I was a fair bit bigger than what I am currently. I have cut out the size F, which I don't know what body measurements that equates to, so let's have a look and we can see. So the body measurements of the size F are just under a 38-inch bust, which is going to be a little bit big for me. The waist is 31.5, which is going to be a lot too big, and the hips are 41.5, which is probably about right. So I think I probably will have to make some adjustments when I make this up. This is a really spring summer style, so I can't see me getting anywhere out of it at this time of year, to be honest. So I think I'm just going to put this on the back burner again and look at getting it sewn up in spring for sort of spring and summer. I think that's when I'm going to get the most wear out of it, and it's not going to fit me at the minute anyway, and I'm going to have to make those adjustments. But it is a beautiful dress. I will put a few images in of the dress here so that you can see what it's like made up. And yeah, I don't know why I got this cut out and didn't even start sewing it, but I think it was probably, as I mentioned earlier, just when I used to batch cut patterns, and then I think when I do that I get overwhelmed with lots of pieces of fabric and pattern pieces attached to them. I just find it really stressful and overwhelming. So I don't do that anymore. This is the reason why, because they end up just stashed away, and then I find that I don't have the motivation to sew them because it just feels very stressful opening up a pack with lots and lots of loose bits of fabric and pattern pieces like this. It just yeah. Anyway, let's put that one away and we'll move on to number 3. So number 3 is this package here, and I have already had a sneaky look at this one, and this is almost finished actually. So this is it's got some pins in it here, so it looks like we've got a blouse. And you can't really see the details here, but it's got a little sort of ruffle neckline. This is the front of the blouse, and you have the fabric choice again. It's viscose. I can't remember where this is from. You've got unfinished sleeves, as in the sleeve hems have not been completed, but you have like a yoke at the front with a little bit of gathering into it, and then at the back it has a sort of keyhole detail there. I don't know if you can see that. So it's pinned at the top here because it still needs the sort of top neckline stitching down, and then this bit here is not quite finished either. So this is actually a French pattern, and it is this one. So it is the Eleanor by Apolline Patterns. I'm just seeing if I can find a proper picture of it. I'll put a picture in here. I tried this blouse on at this point, and I think what the issue was the back sort of opening. The bottom bit of it was too big and really gaping, and yeah, it shouldn't be like that. Now, I'm not sure, looking back, whether it is supposed to be, I think there's like a band that goes across and it's gathered into it, and it's just far too big. So this needs a fair bit of work to make it work. Yeah, this bit here, you've got like a band here with facing on that you then stitch down because it is gathered into it, but it's just too wide. So when I tried this on, this bit was just hanging away from my body, and yeah, because it's just too big. I mean, you can see there how it sort of hangs down. That's what it was doing on my body. So I think the way to fix this is probably going to be putting some elastic in there, I think, or I am going to have to take this sort of facing bit off and then make it shorter widthways so that it hugs at the back of my body. And I think this is the issue with these kind of designs, where you've got these really lovely sort of keyhole details. To get the fit right on them is really tricky, and yeah, this just didn't work at all. I don't know whether I've just made a mistake with it or what, but it probably needs revisiting. But it's one of those things that I ended up just putting to one side and thinking I'll come back to that another time, and then it's just got left and left and left. But you know, it's not far off finishing, and it would make sense just to revisit it and work on that back neckline a bit and see if I can make it work. So we'll see how we get on with that. So that's number 3. The next one is another project actually that I haven't actually started, and a couple of months ago I put out a vlog on my channel about losing my sojo and what I was going to do to get it back. And one of the projects that I talked about in that vlog was the Grainline Archer shirt that I'd made a long time ago. And when I made it, I think I totally messed up the print, the sort of printing of the PDF, because it's supposed to be a fairly fitted shirt from what I can remember, and mine was massively oversized. So I think I'd got the scale wrong when I printed it out. So I reprinted the pattern, but then when I was talking about it in this vlog, I couldn't find my reprint, so I reprinted it again, and I'd chosen some gorgeous brushed cotton fabric that I wanted to make this shirt out of, because I thought if I could make it a little bit oversized, wear it with a t-shirt and jeans, would look really nice for this time of year. So that project is still sort of on the burner to do for this autumn. It's heading up the list, if that makes sense, but yeah, I've not actually got around to starting that yet. And then I found this. So when I was looking through my whips, yeah, I opened this, and here we have the Grainline Archer. So this is the reprint that I did, and it's actually already cut out. So everything is cut out on this really lovely check cotton. So this isn't a brushed cotton, so it's not going to be as warm as the brushed cotton that I'd chosen, but this is already cut out, and I am going to make this up this month, I think, because it was within my plans to do this autumn anyway, and because I've already got it cut out now, I might as well get it sewn rather than cut into a new piece of fabric. So size wise, I have chosen the size 8, which I think is a US 8, so that comes out at a UK size 12, so that's going to fit me really well. This kind of pattern is the sort of type of fabric and pattern that I'm drawn to with the Grainline Archer, and I definitely want to remake this. So this is going to come way up to the top of the to-do pile, and I am going to get this sewn up ASAP. So next up is number 4, and this is this project here. Now this is a project from this year actually that made it into the whip pile, and it is the Tilly and the Buttons Marnie blouse, and I actually sewed the majority of this up at Sew Toon a few months ago, earlier in the year. And I use this beautiful fabric. It's a Fabric Godmother viscose crepe. This is it here, look, that I got from lovely Adele, Sew for Serenity, when she was destashing it. And I jumped on that so quick before anybody else got their hands on it. And I was so happy that I got it, because I do love this print. It's beautiful. And I'd seen somebody else make the Marnie in this, and it just looks gorgeous. So I am going the whole hog with this, with the pin tucks along the front yoke and the double-faced flounce, because although it doesn't ask for a double-faced flounce in the instructions, I always double-face flounces, A, because it's easier, and B, because it looks better. And I've got as far as getting the bodice, most of the bodice bit done, and I think I also got, no, that's a spare piece of fabric. Did I get the sleeves done as well? Here are the sleeves here. No. So I've got 2 sleeves there, and I don't know what this bit is. Is this the bottom bit of the sleeve? Oh no, is this the side bit? They might actually be the side bits. No, they aren't the side bits. I don't know what that is. What's this bit then? Lower sleeve. That's the lower sleeve. Okay, so the sleeves are still to do. So I've still got to do the pin tucks on the sleeves, but the rest of the bodice is more or less done. And then obviously I've got the neckline to attach and hem it. And the reason this hasn't got finished is because when I did the pin tucks at Sew Toon, I didn't like how the stitching looks across the pin tucks at the front. Can you see that stitching is really visible? And I actually was really disappointed in how that looked, because I just think it looks really obvious. And yeah, I ended up putting it to one side, because I did consider unpicking these lines of stitching and actually hand tacking each pin tuck down underneath so that you can't see it visibly from the front. But you know what, I think from a distance it's not going to be that obvious, and I think the fact that this has been languishing in my whip pile for months now, it's obvious I am not going to do that. I am not going to go back and unpick all that and then hand stitch it down. It's just not going to happen. So I either have to make the decision to live with that and just get this finished so that I can wear it, because I will wear it because it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern, or it's just going to end up staying in my whip pile forever. That's the reality. I need to face that. So I think I am going to get this finished. I think even this time of year, over winter, it's going to work because the Marnie is a long sleeve top, and yeah, I can wear that with jeans or with leggings and boots, and it's just going to inject a pop of colour into a dreary season. So I think I need to get this finished and just accept the way the stitching looks. I mean, it probably would have been better if I'd have used a better coloured thread, because I think I've used a cream or a white thread anyway, and it's just a bit too harsh against the peach. So yeah, that's a lesson learned for me for future, but I'm going to get this finished because it's such a beautiful blouse, beautiful fabric. I can't waste this fabric, Godmother fabric, because it's just too precious. So yeah, I need to get that done so that I can wear it. And then on to my fifth and final whip, which is this one here. And this again is one from this summer. So this is a pattern that is cut out, which I am classing my patterns that are cut out that haven't actually been started sewing yet as whips, because I see them as a project that is in progress because it's being cut out. So that first step of the process has started. And this is a pair of shorts that I cut out in leftover Fabric Godmother fabric that I made my Thea trousers in. It's this stretch cotton called Bellatrix. I don't think they have this in stock anymore, but I had enough left from my Thea project to cut myself a pair of shorts, and this is the pattern Runway sweet shorts. They have a scalloped hem. It's all cut out, ready to go, but then the end of summer arrived and I just didn't get a chance to get these done. So I am going on holiday in about 3 weeks' time, just over 3 weeks. We are going to Barbados for a week, me and Martin, which is just incredible. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm really excited to have a bit of sunshine. But if I'm honest, I don't think I am going to get these done for that. I could get them sewn up, but if I'm honest, I think the weight of this fabric, it's probably going to be too hot for me to wear them anyway. And I think I'm better off just leaving these now till next spring and getting these sewn up for spring and summer in the UK next year, because I think that's when I'll probably wear them rather than on a holiday now. So yeah, this is a lovely pattern. I have made it before. Unfortunately, Pattern Runway are no more, and it's a shame because they had some amazing patterns, but they were very, very size inclusive, as in, no, size exclusive. That's the word, isn't it? They had a very, very narrow size range, as most indie designers did back in the day when they were all just starting out. They didn't really have very wide size ranges. So at the time, I only just fit into their size range. And I bought this pattern. I've made it a couple of times. It's really, really good pattern, but you can't get it anymore. I know I've talked about this pattern before, and I think a couple of people have said that Peppermint Magazine now have the pattern. I've had a look and it's not the same pattern. It's very similar, but it's not. So it's a shame because I can't find my PDF for this pattern either. I've only got the printed copy that I've actually got now. So yeah, it's very, very precious. But yeah, that's my last whip. Phew. So that's all of them from a sewing perspective. I think out of all of them, I'm going to concentrate on getting the Marnie finished because I'd like to wear that at this time of year. I want to get the Archer done as well because I've been wanting to remake that shirt for such a long time, and now I've got the pattern and fabric cut out ready to go. There's no reason why I can't just get that done and get that worn. And I think the other thing that I'd like to get done is the spring dress as well, because again, I can wear that now with tights and boots, hopefully, if it fits, if that sizing is okay. And then yeah, I'm going to have 3 projects that don't require a lot of work, and it was going to leave me just with a couple left over in my whip pile. And then moving forward, I'm going to continue in the same vein as I do now, in that I start a project sewing wise, cut it out, sew it up, and it's done, and then move on to the next thing, so that I won't have all these whips lying around anymore. So anyway, I'm really interested to hear what you think to my whips. Which do you think I should get sewn up now at this time of year? Do you agree with me on the things that I've chosen from my little pile? Let me know what you're like with whips. Do you have lots languishing in your sewing spaces, or are you start a new project and see it through to its entirety before you move on to the next thing? I'd love to know. That's it from me today, and I will see you again really soon. Take care. Bye.